The phone call came at 2:17 a.m., a jagged blade slicing through the stillness of our bedroom. My wife, Elise, didn't stir as the screen glowed on her nightstand, buzzing with a name I didn't recognize. Evan. No last name, just Evan. The vibration rattled against the wood, insistent like a heartbeat out of rhythm. I lay frozen, my pulse hammering in my throat, staring at the ceiling where shadows danced like ghosts under the moonlight. Why was someone calling her at this hour? Why didn't she wake? I reached over, my fingers trembling, and silenced the call. The screen dimmed, but the name burned into my vision, a spark igniting a fire I didn't yet understand. Elise and I had been married for 7 years, our life a tapestry of quiet routines. Coffee brewed too strong, her laugh at my terrible puns, the way she'd hum off-key while folding laundry. But lately, the threads of that tapestry had begun to fray. She'd been distant, her smiles fleeting, her eyes darting to her phone when she thought I wasn't looking. I told myself it was work stress. Her new promotion at the law firm demanded long hours, late nights. But that name, Evan, was a splinter under my skin, impossible to ignore. The next morning, the kitchen smelled of burnt toast and regret. Elise stood at the counter, her auburn hair pulled into a messy bun, her phone clutched like a lifeline. "Morning," I said, my voice too bright, too brittle. She glanced up, her green eyes guarded like a door half closed. "Morning," she replied, her tone clipped, and returned to scrolling. I poured coffee, the liquid sloshing against the mug's edge, mirroring the unease pooling in my chest. "Who's Evan?" I asked, aiming for casual but landing somewhere near accusation. Her fingers froze mid-swipe. "What?" she said, her voice a touch too sharp. "Evan. He called last night. Late." I watched her face, searching for a crack in her composure. She laughed, a sound like breaking glass. "Oh, Evan. Just a colleague. Probably a missed dial." Her explanation was smooth, but her eyes didn't meet mine. The air thickened, heavy with unspoken questions. I nodded, swallowing the doubt that clawed at my throat, and changed the subject. But the seed was planted, and it grew roots in the silence between us. Over the next week, the signs multiplied, each one a whisper of betrayal I tried to dismiss. A receipt for a dinner for 2 at a restaurant I'd never been to, tucked in her coat pocket. A text notification that flashed across her screen before she snatched it away. "Miss you already." The faint scent of cedarwood cologne on her scarf, a fragrance I didn't wear. I rationalized each one. Maybe the receipt was from a client meeting, maybe the text was from a friend, maybe the cologne was a sample from a store. But denial is a fragile shield, and mine was cracking. I started waking before dawn, lying beside her, listening to her soft breaths while my mind churned. Was I paranoid? Was I inventing a story that didn't exist? I loved her. God, I loved her. But love can blind you to the sharp edges of truth. I began checking her phone when she showered, my fingers shaking as I scrolled through messages. Nothing definitive, just vague pleasantries with Evan, but the absence of evidence felt like its own kind of proof. My heart was a battlefield, torn between trust and suspicion, love and rage. One evening I couldn't take it anymore. I waited until she was in the shower, the steam curling under the bathroom door like a warning. I opened her laptop, her email still logged in. My eyes snagged on a subject line. "Tonight, 8 p.m., the Blue Haven." The email was from Evan, brief and damning. "Can't wait to see you. Wear the red dress." My stomach lurched, the words a punch to the gut. The Blue Haven was a boutique hotel downtown, intimate, discreet. I closed the laptop, my hands clammy, my breath shallow. The truth was no longer a shadow, it was a blade poised to cut. I didn't confront her that night. Instead, I drove to the Blue Haven, the city's neon lights blurring through the rain-streaked windshield. The lobby was all polished marble and hushed voices, the kind of place where secrets felt safe. I sat in a corner, nursing a whiskey, watching the entrance. At 8:03, Elise walked in, her red dress clinging to her like a confession. She didn't see me. She moved with purpose, her heels clicking against the floor, and disappeared into the elevator with a man. tall, dark-haired, his hand brushing her lower back. Evan, I presumed. The whiskey burned my throat, but it couldn't drown the ache in my chest. I wanted to scream, to storm after them, to demand answers. But I sat there, paralyzed by the weight of what I'd seen. My mind replayed every moment of our marriage. The late-night talks, the promises, the way she'd trace circles on my palm when we watched movies. Had it all been a lie? Or had I failed her somehow, driven her to this? I drove home, the rain hammering the roof of the car, mirroring the storm inside me. When Elise returned hours later, her hair damp and her smile forced, I said nothing. Couldn't. The words were trapped behind a wall of heartbreak and fury. The next day she sat me down, her hands folded tightly in her lap. "We need to talk," she said, her voice steady but her eyes glistening. "I want a divorce. You should speak to my lawyer." The words hit like a gunshot. Divorce. Lawyer. The finality of it stole my breath. But then, a spark of defiance flared. "Fine," I said, my voice low, dangerous. "I'll talk to your lawyer." And I did. I called her lawyer that afternoon. A man named Richard who sounded tired and overworked. I didn't ask about the divorce. Instead, I asked about Evan. Richard hesitated, then sighed. "Evan's not just a colleague," he admitted. "He's my client too. They've been involved for months. I'm sorry you found out this way." The revelation wasn't a surprise, but it still shattered me. I thanked Richard and hung up, my hands trembling. That night I confronted Elise. I laid out everything, the receipt, the text, the email, the Blue Haven. Her face crumpled, guilt and defiance warring in her expression. "I didn't mean for it to happen," she whispered, tears streaming down her cheeks. "Evan, he saw me when you didn't. I felt invisible with you." Her words stung, but they also ignited a truth I'd buried. I'd been distant too, consumed by work, assuming our love was unshakable. We'd both failed each other in different ways. But her betrayal cut deeper, a wound that wouldn't heal. "You should have talked to me," I said, my voice breaking. "Not run to him." She had no answer, only sobs that filled the room like a requiem. I walked out, leaving her with her regret, her red dress a crumpled heap on the floor. The lawyer called again the next day, offering terms, but I didn't care about the details. The marriage was over, not because of papers or signatures, but because trust, once broken, is like glass, shattered beyond repair. As I packed my things, I found a photo of us from our honeymoon, laughing on a beach, the sunset painting her face in gold. I tucked it into my pocket, not out of love, but as a reminder. Even the brightest moments can hide shadows. Elise stood in the doorway, her eyes pleading, but I walked past her, into a world where I'd have to learn to trust again, starting with myself.